UFC 325 is just around the corner, and I'm here to give you my fight prediction for every single fight on this card, except the Dana White Contender Series fights, which, these guys will deserve predictions when they actually make it to the UFC. So I'm just going to start with Kaan Ofli. Look, Kaan Ofli's he's pretty much a pressure wrestler. He'll just pressure you into a wrestling exchange, or he likes to do like a Mario Bautista a little bit and get you to the fence and just smudge you a little bit. He's not a Shavkat Rakhmonov type of fighter at all. I'm just saying he just likes to do that, and that's pretty much all he got. He can take you down, but he's not really going to be finishing you on the ground. He's just gonna rack up control time, and that's what I think he is going to need to do against Yizha, in my opinion, and to win this fight pretty much, because he's not as good as Yizha on the feet. Ofli did have a okay performance in his last fight against Ricardo Ramos, but if we're being completely honest, let me ask you a genuine question: who's Ricardo Ramos? Exactly. Yizha, on the other hand, even though again these two fighters haven't really fought high level competition, but you can tell who's a better fighter, of course, by watching them. But Yizha, a lot of people are actually getting him wrong because they think this guy's a striker, throwing bombs because of the last performance he had against Weston Wilson. And I will say he does like staying on the feet, but he definitely excels more on the ground, and you can tell that too by the 14 submissions to the 6 knockouts that he has on his record. And I do love that he does mix it up. He never stands on the feet, even when he's actually having success. He changes levels. He's very smart. And one thing that I absolutely love about him, this man he has like springs on his legs. This man be moving all over the place, like he has like springs. He's always bouncing. He's very explosive. He's very, very fast. I'm going to go with Yizha. I just think he's way better on the feet than Kaan Ofli. Again, very explosive. I think Ofli, if he does take him down, if he takes down Yizha, I think Yizha will easily be able to stand back up, and start defending takedowns. But again, I see Yizha battering him on the feet. If I'm being completely honest, I don't see Ofli standing a chance. Ofli, it's kind of unfortunate because Ofli and Yizha are the same height, but his build, Ofli's build, bro, he has T-Rex arms. He just looks smaller than he actually is. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in there against Yizha, and they have, like, obviously you see here 5'7", 5'7", and we might see Ofli smaller than Yizha. Ofli just looks so small for this weight division, and it just doesn't help when he has those T-Rex arms at all. But yeah, Yizha decision in my opinion. Moving on to Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Micallef in his last fight against Kevin Juzet, if I pronounced that correctly. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think I've ever seen a fight where somebody threw so many kicks to the body in my entire life. Literally, he threw that has to be a world record. I'm gonna have to go back and actually count as the kicks he threw to the body and actually connected them, not just threw them. He actually connected insanely amounts of body kicks. But yeah, Micallef's striking is really nothing to write home about. I think he telegraphs a lot of what he throws because he has like a little skip to him before he throws something most of the time. And I think if Elliott gets the timing on that, yeah, he might he might hurt him a little bit. Oban Elliott, I think he's way better than Micallef in my opinion on the feet. He's way faster. I am worried a little bit of Micallef's reach. Is a very, very big reach, Vinny. 72 inch against 77 inch, and Micallef to 72 and Oban Elliott. You know, that straight right or the straight punches that, you know, Micallef is gonna throw at the start of the first round, you know, I hope Elliott just doesn't get. I'm not saying, you know, Micallef have some, you know, gnarly power here, but I just hope, you know, he doesn't get caught off guard from one of them straight punches and, you know, it hurts him, and then, you know, has to work his way back up. I just, you know, he has to come in here, you know, cut in an angle, brother. Learn from Volk. You're fighting in Australia. You know what happened. You know what happened against Volk in the first fight against Lopes. He was backing up straight instead of cutting at an angle, and he got caught with a straight right hand. Or was it a left from Lopes? I don't remember correctly, but yeah, I think Oban got this. I think Oban will try to get this fight to the ground. He's also, again, he's more capable. He's more than capable of withstanding with Micallef. But I just think Oban is just better everywhere, in my opinion. I got Elliott by decision. Moving on to the next fight, Jacob Malkoun versus Torrez Finney. And now, I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. This is going to be the worst fight of the night by a mile. There's no other fight that's. I think that the Dana White Contender Series fights are going to be more entertaining than this fight. I'm gonna call it right now. You know, big body Finney here. He's just a wrestler, and when I mean he's just a wrestler, I mean that in a literal way. This man is probably gonna sign a contract to Raf after this fight, because he's probably gonna get cut and he's probably gonna just go wrestle against like Joel Romero or some shit. I'm not gonna lie to you, he has no jiu-jitsu, he has no interest in striking with anybody. You know, Jacob Malkoun has obviously way more experience. He's obviously way better on the feet, because, you know, Finney doesn't like to do any of that, you know, at all. he literally just comes in there and just tackles you. And the thing is, he's going to get Malkoun down. And this is the thing. I'm going to go with Finney. All right. I'm going to go with the big buddy Finney here. You know, Jacob is coming on from a two-year layoff, you know, no fights, no nothing. But man, expect this to be a low-level fight, brother. I'm telling you, there are no woman fights on this card, but this is the piss break right here, guys. I'm telling you right now. You know, Finney's gonna take Jacob Malkoun down so many times, but he's not gonna do anything with it. We might see single-digit significant strikes every single round by these two, because, you know, Finney's just gonna keep fucking throwing takedowns and not even throwing a single ground and pound shot, because he's horrible. Absolute dog shit. But still, I'm gonna go with Finney by split decision. Fuck it, by split decision. Let's move on now. And here we're gonna come in. This is where it starts getting. This is an Australia card. You know, they really put the fights that are obviously going to go towards the Australian now. You know, this is where it starts getting an Australia card, if you know what I mean. I mean, yeah, man, this one's an easy one to predict. Cam is just gonna TKO or KO Brundage in the second round, in my opinion. I think Cam is gonna hurt Cody in the first round, but I think Cody's gonna, you know, panic for takedowns as he usually does, and I think he's going to be able to get him. And, you know, Cam is obviously going to be able to stand up and you know, start a striking battle again against, you know, Cody Brundage. But I think Cody Brundage is just gonna stall. He's just gonna stall and survive until the second round, in my opinion. And I think that's where Cam Rowston gets him. You know, this guy's so how tall is he? I don't know the 6'3" to 6'0". Bro, Rowston looks so much taller than he's so freaking lanky, he's so freaking long. This is a obvious KO. The only thing, you know, you have to predict here is basically in which round is gonna happen. So I'm gonna go with Cody, or not Cody, hell no, Cam Rowston by KO in the second round. Moving on to a very, very, very low level fight in one side, and then a decent fighter on the other. Junior Tafa versus Bilia Elekana. Um, I'm gonna be real. This only goes basically two ways. It's either Tafa knocks out Elekana with like the Australian gods helping him this night, or Elekana ends up submitting or like counter punching, you know, Tafa, getting him and then submitting him that way. You know, that's the only two ways I see this fight going. Overall, Billy Elekana is just a way more complete fighter than Junior Tafa. Junior Tafa, you know, no gas tank. The Tafa brothers are fucking ass, if we're being completely honest. You know, I got Billy Elekana by decision. You know, these two have, you know, decent power. It's really nothing to write home about. I do expect a decent fight because of how level it is. You know, we're gonna see a lot of striking here, but I think Billy Elekana got this in the department. I think Junior Tafa got this out before the fight even ends, so I think Elekana is gonna be able to take advantage of that and probably piece up Junior Tafa in the second and third round. I wouldn't even be surprised if Junior Tafa gassed out in like within 3 minutes. I'm not gonna lie to you, but yeah. Billy Elekana by decision in my opinion. Now moving on to one of the easiest cards to predict, and the UFC hasn't fixed this. Wow, okay, anyways, I can't open this for some reason, but it's all good. That's the UFC's fault, not mine. I mean, what can I say about this fight? Now, Quillan Salkilld versus Jamie Mullarkey. They basically gave a contract to Mullarkey that says you're going to be a lamb to a slaughter. That's pretty much what it is. Quillan Salkilld is going to come out here, knock out Mullarkey in the first round. You know, he's better everywhere. He has all the momentum, and he's in Australia. I mean, you can't get much better than that. This is just, you know, another stepping stone for Quillan Salkilld. He did beat my go in Jubilee, so you know you can give him that. But yeah, man, that's just what's gonna happen. First round KO for Quillan Salkilld. Moving on to I don't know how I feel about this fight. Tuivasa versus Teixeira, and the reason why it is because this man Tuivasa hasn't fought in almost 2 years. He's literally the most obese heavyweight in the division right now. He's on a Tony Ferguson run, and I really genuinely I think he did retire. I don't know why they let him back to the UFC. This has to be like a health concern. There's no way they let Tuivasa back into the UFC. I genuinely don't know how this guy made. Is he going to make weight? Is he going to make the weight? Bro, I'm telling you, Dana White has to have a backup for this shit because there's no way he makes weight. It is again, I do feel a little bit bad because he has been, you know, having problems with obesity and, you know, eating, you know, so like this is just another this is another first rounder. Tuivasa is not gonna last more than a minute without gassing out. This is the easiest fight in Teixeira's life. Literally, out of all his fights he has ever had, amateurs, regional scenes, this right here is the easiest fight he will ever have. That's why I'm picking Teixeira round 1 KO. He might not even get hit on this fight. Honestly, Tuivasa is gonna make Teixeira look like prime Usyk. Okay, guys. That's all I gotta say. Moving on to Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Ruffy. You know, Mauricio Ruffy has been training actually under Volk a little bit. So expect an improved Ruffy in the wrestling and grappling department, guys. You know, he's training with one of the greatest of all time, top 5 fighter of all time. I need to make a GOAT list now that I think about it. I haven't made it in a very, very long time. I need to make a lot of moves in on that too, but yeah, you know, I rewatched the fight against Saint Denis, and it's not really as bad as people think it is if you go rewatch it. You know, he did make a lot of mistakes that, you know, obviously Saint Denis definitely capitalized on it. And Saint Denis is no slouch, guys. He really isn't no slouch. People really discount Saint Denis because he lost to Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier has literally fought one of the greatest fighters that have ever stepped on the octagon in this era, and then in the last era. The old guard are still beating new guard fighters as we're speaking. I mean, look at Justin Gaethje. He just destroyed Paddy Pimblett, and I'm gonna say destroyed. I know a lot of people get mad when I say destroyed, but he destroyed him. The only reason you guys don't want to call it destroyed is because Scousers don't get knocked out, lad. That's the only reason why you don't call it destroyed. But he got absolutely battered, okay? But yeah, man, say the Dustin Poirier fight, a lot of people count Saint Denis out because he lost him, which you shouldn't. You literally shouldn't. We literally ranked Dustin Poirier as one of the fighters that should have been a champion, like number one. So I don't really discredit I didn't discredit Saint Denis after the loss. I think Ruffy that's the only major weakness that he needs to improve on, in my opinion, that wrestling, that grappling. And I'm surprised because he's from Brazil. He's in the Fighting Nerds camp. I'm surprised he didn't work on that better, but again, Saint Denis was better that night. Fiziev, he's in a 1-fight win streak. He did lose to his last memorable loss was against obviously Justin Gaethje. I'm pretty sure he fought off the couch that fight. But man, this fight is going to be a very, very good fight on the feet. Even if Rafael Fiziev starts getting beat up by Mauricio Ruffy on the feet, I don't think he's gonna go and exploit the weakness that we know against Ruffy. I truly believe he's gonna make this fight, not make this fight, but he's gonna let this fight go on the feet. And even if he decides to go for a takedown, I think he will. Don't get me wrong, I think he will get Ruffy down, but I think Ruffy's gonna be able to get up easier. He's gonna be able to get up way easier than he did in the Saint Denis fight. I think we're gonna see an improved Mauricio Ruffy. And yeah, man, I think Mauricio Ruffy is gonna come out here, use his range. Rafael Fiziev, he does excel when he's up close and close range, and I don't think Mauricio Ruffy is gonna let that happen. We're gonna see a lot of kicks this fight. We're gonna see a lot of kicks because Rafael Fiziev is gonna try to close this range, and Mauricio Ruffy is not gonna let that happen. Trust me, I'm gonna go Mauricio Ruffy by decision, and I think we're gonna see a bloodied up Fiziev by the end of this fight. I think he's gonna pick him apart from range. He's gonna play his range absolutely perfectly. I see him getting taken down a few times, but getting back up easily and just piecing up Fiziev. I see these two throwing bombs at each other. I see them two throwing bombs at each other, but I think Fiziev is gonna, get the bad end of it. But yeah, man, this is probably going to be fight of the night. If what I'm feeling, if what I'm seeing by these two past fights, this might be fight of the night. But I'm gonna go with Mauricio Ruffy by decision. Moving on to Benoit Saint Denis versus Dan Hooker, and this is actually a very interesting one, guys. This actually today in the Ariel Helwani show, Dan Hooker came out and said himself with his own words. He said that Arman Tsarukyan actually broke his nose when they were facing off. If you guys know that thing that went viral, headbutt by Arman Tsarukyan. He actually said that Arman Tsarukyan broke his nose. They took like a scan after the fight or something like that, and it revealed that he broke his nose. And it actually kind of makes sense because the headbutt is obviously a bad thing for endangering a fight, but I didn't see why people were, but Dana White was so mad about that. But now we know why he was so mad, because he actually did some damage. He actually broke, and again, this is Dan Hooker's word, and take it with a grain of salt, but I do believe this is true, because why would Dana be mad? Yes, he risked a fight, but why would he be that mad? Even in podcast, he brought that up, that that headbutt was a major reason why, one of the major reasons why Arman Tsarukyan didn't get the title shot and all that stuff. But Anyways, you know, Benoit Saint Denis, it's an absolute dog. I think Benoit Saint Denis is gonna come out here just like in the Ruffy fight, and he's just gonna take down Hooker. I mean, Hooker, we know his biggest weakness is his biggest weakness is if you take this man down, you're just gonna be able to keep him there, control him. You're gonna be able to submit him. He's not good on the ground, okay, buddy. When it comes to the stand-up, you know, he's a slugger, brother. He's a striker. He'll fight with you any day, anytime, anywhere. You know, he's gonna come out here. Benoit Saint Denis is gonna dominate this guy, in my opinion. I truly think he's going to be dominating Dan Hooker on this fight. He's not gonna let him up. Dan Hooker's not gonna. If he does get up, I think Dan Hooker and Benoit Saint Denis, they're not gonna be. I feel like Benoit Saint Denis is not gonna be in that big of a disadvantage against Hooker. Really, I truly don't, man. Cause he looked good in there with Dustin Poirier. I think he can handle Dan Hooker, in my opinion. Now, I will say this: Benoit Saint Denis' game plan should be wrestling. It should definitely not be standing up with Dan Hooker, because obviously he's gonna take more risks there. That's where Dan Hooker excels. If you take him down, you know, then he's gonna have to think about that, and then it opens up Benoit Saint Denis striking, and then, you know, he can do whatever he wants from there. But Benoit Saint Denis probably just going to rack up a lot of control time. I think he's gonna have success on the feet because of the takedown threat. He's gonna open up a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm expecting a good fight from this too. This might be the second best fight of the night, in my opinion. So we're about to see a slugfest between these two, just like the last fight. But again, don't be surprised if Dan Hooker just gets controlled mogged by Benoit Saint Denis on the ground. Anyways, moving on to the fight that we all have been waiting for, if you were casual, of course, because you know damn well, if you actually follow the UFC, that Deigo Lopes shouldn't be in this position, in my opinion. A lot of people, for some reason, have been, you know, switching their thoughts on Deigo Lopes getting a title shot, which is so interesting to me. Like, come on, bro. It's so obvious that, yes, he didn't do, I guess, mistakes. Okay, he got, every time he got a call, he accepted it, yes, but he's definitely not the one that deserves the title shot. And he said it himself, so if he's saying it himself, you can't argue against that. But anyways, this is the fight that's going to happen. We have obviously seen this before, and I actually uploaded a 10-minute video of it just alone on this fight alone. So if you guys want to go watch that after this, go ahead. But I'm gonna still break it down, don't worry. I think this fight is going to be more dominant from Alexander Volkanovski than it was in the last fight. You know, I gave Alexander Volkanovski 4 out of the 5 rounds. The only round I gave Deigo Lopes was the second, where he got that when he got that knockdown. He did have a moment in the 4th where he did like an uppercut, and, you know, Volkanovski's eyelid, you know, you couldn't really see. We knew he couldn't really see because he set it on the stool, and we also saw it in the replay where he, like, you know, started blinking, all that, and people thought he was like wobbled, but no, it wasn't because he wobbled. And we also didn't see the uppercut when it happened because the angle of the camera, you know, it like covered it, so we thought he was like rocked, but then we saw it on the replay with a better angle, and it was because of the eyelid. Now, you know, I am a bit worried, bro. I truly am a bit worried, man, because, you know, other time can creep on you, you know, very, very quick, you know. And, you know, Volkanovski uploading all these cooking videos, him on a farm, you know, it really is kind of concerning, man. But he looks ready, you know. He looks ready. I've seen, you know, the countdown that was uploaded today, and he looks fit. He's training with Ruffy. He looks good, right? But again, other time can creep at you at any time, brother. And I am a little bit worried now that the fight is getting closer. But I am still confident that Alexander Volkanovski is going to come out here and probably play it safer than he did on the first fight, because in the first round, in the first fight, if you guys remember, he was playing the safe and all this, got a takedown, mauled him with the ground and pound. In the second round, the thing with Volkanovski is that he loves to take the fight to you, right? And with Diego Lopes is he excels more in the pocket but loves fighting at range. In the first fight, you can see that Alexander Volkanovski, he actually initiated more than Diego Lopes did. And it's so interesting to me that Diego Lopes doesn't like to close the distance more. He likes fighting rangy. When he has more, he excels in the pocket. It's mind-blowing to me. So if he lets Alexander Volkanovski just stay in range, like for example the last round, he just stayed in range, used his jab, because Diego Lopes literally doesn't even move his head. His head does not move. It's just a brick just standing right there getting jabbed up, and then he starts emoting and shit. He starts screaming when he's getting jabbed up, and that's just not gonna work to me, brother. For Diego Lopes to win this fight, I genuinely believe he has to turn into like a different fighter, and that's just impossible, man. It truly is impossible. We saw that against Gene Silva. He did actually shoot a takedown in Gene Silva in the first round, but it was like a surprise. He had like the surprise element that he shot for a takedown against Gene Silva. He did kind of maul him in the first round when Gene Silva couldn't get up with the elbows to the head, and in the second round, he was getting pieced up until he got that, spinning elbow TKO. So like, this is the same old Diego Lopes. I didn't see any improvements in the first in the fight against Gene Silva, and I think it's the same thing is gonna happen, if not worse. Like, I truly believe that Diego Lopes, again, I said it in the video that I made alone about this fight, that he has to come here with like improved head movement. He has to come in here with he has to throw leg kicks to in the start of the fight to slow down Volkanovski, because Volkanovski is way faster than him. He's gonna have to have a higher output, because he was like throwing single digits, and he was landing single digit significant strikes. But the reason because of that was also because he wasn't even throwing that many. He has to have a higher output. And like, I combine all this, that's like a different fighter at that point for what he has to do to beat Alexander Volkanovski. Like, the levels couldn't be so far apart from each other. But the problem is, right, is that great equalizer that Diego Lopes has. Like I said, Father Time can creep up on you at any time. Diego Lopes can just one punch and just end it all, man. And it's so, and I really don't want to picture in my head, because it can happen. Like, obviously in the first fight, he got knocked down from that punch. He a mistake he did, he backed up straight instead of cutting of it at an angle, and he got caught. But what if that punch lands again? Is he gonna be is he gonna be good? Because he was good. He took the punch very, very well, surprisingly, but is he gonna be able to take it well again? You know what I mean? If he gets knocked down again, or is he gonna be up like wobbled like he was in the Micallef fight? A head kick obviously is way different than a punch, but what if he gets wobbled like that by a punch? It might be over. Like, I think Alexander Volkanovski again should come in here, man, and just absolutely starch Diego Lopes by just pure output, staying outside range. I think he's going to play a safe game plan this time, because he knows Diego Lopes is probably going, I will say this, I think Diego Lopes is going to probably increase his output this fight. So I think that's why Alexander Volkanovski is just going to play it way safer than he did in the first fight, where he actually, was the person initiating, he was taking the fight to Diego Lopes, is what I'm trying to say. He was taking the fight to Diego Lopes. So now he's probably just gonna let Diego Lopes take the fight to him. He's just gonna exploit that, just putting that jab up the middle, just jab him up to death like he did in the first fight. But he's gonna do it even more this time and play it safer, in my opinion. So, I am expecting a boring fight, but again, that's what the UFC gets for booking this fight a second time. But That's my prediction, right? I think Alexander Volkanovski, unanimous decision. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think about my prediction. Who do you pick? Tell me your predictions down in the comment section. Also, I am going to be streaming the entire card. Yes, even the Dana White fights, even though I didn't give my prediction on them, because again, you gotta be a UFC fighter, buddy. You gotta be officially in the UFC for me to give you predictions about you, okay, man. My words mean something, man. It means something. But yeah, I'll see you guys at UFC 325. I'm gonna be live, so make sure you subscribe, turn that bell on so you don't miss it. And with that being said, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.